Just like Thursday, the boat in trouble. This time, Nomura was able to wriggle off the hook with a minute 30 to go, and now they hold a favored position.
We're not going to have it. They called to each other.
Game here is to get up to full speed. KR makes his move first, and he'll be going faster when the gun goes off.
Go down below the line. 20. 17. 14. 13. 4, 3, 2, 1, gun.
Another clean start and another good job by Dylan Bob.
Well, hey. Everybody hear everything okay? I don't know what's going on. It's been a pretty interesting 36 hours. For me, anyway. Yeah, it's been no power. Power came back on. Power went back out. Power came back on and might go out again in the middle of this thing. I don't know. Whatever. I just thought I'd, now that I've got the power back on, I thought I might just sort of pop in and say hello from Cape Elizabeth, Maine, looking up the Portland Ship Channel towards Portland, Maine. Apparently, Cape Elizabeth, Fort Williams and Cape Elizabeth and Portland Ed Light has power now. They didn't earlier. And, oh my goodness, look who's here. Holy smokes.
Hello, hello.
Ember! Yeah, I was just going on about my tales of woes of tales. It's Central Maine Power has been busy. I've been when the power went out, it was like 2:30 in the morning.
Oof.
And for whatever reason, I was awake and I was looking out, and over the shopping center, I guess, supermarket parking lot next door to me, there was an enormous flash of super white light. No sound, just great big huge super white light. And all of the lights in the parking lot went out.
Whoops.
And then they came back on. And then there was another flash of super bright light. And the lights in the parking lot went out. And then there was a third time's the charm, and they didn't come back on. They didn't come back on for like 36 hours. Or they came back on for about an hour, and then they all went out again. You're like, oh, what the hell? So it's been cold. It wouldn't surprise me at all, Jason, that I think you're in New Hampshire, right? You're next door. The great state of Maine is serviced by Central Maine Power and Bangor Hydroelectric. And I think Eversource is New Hampshire's Eversource. It's whenever it works, But it was kind of surprising because Yarmouth's not too far off of the coast. It's maybe 3 miles from where I am. It's probably 5 miles from the ocean, from the bay. And inland really got walloped. They really got walloped. It was pretty bad. It was blowing really hard. It was gusts of 55 or so miles an hour. That was nifty. How's the driving been?
Oh, adventures. Today wasn't bad. We had some random snow, because why not? But yesterday we were having the power outages. Seemed like everywhere I stopped, as soon as I pulled in, the power went out again. It was just off and on all day, everywhere.
Yeah. That was kind of the drill. So
Yeah.
anyway, I just figured it's Friday afternoon. It's the power's back on, which means the heat's back on, so it's tolerable. You know, the heat's been on for about an hour and a half, so it's up to 60 degrees in here, which is better than 40.
Mm-hmm.
So got the hot water back, so I could take a shower. It's like, oh my, this is like luxury, living in the lap of luxury. And so, yeah, I don't have a theme for the show except the power of the not the Holy Spirit.
Praise Zeus. Electricity
You know,
returned.
yeah, yeah. Which, well, that's sort of made me that made me think about his Dark Materials. You familiar with that little trilogy?
A
Young
little
adult,
bit.
way better young adult children's young adult books than a certain wizard thing, because it's mostly about an alternative universe kind of thing. It's science fiction thing. That there's Lyra's Oxford an is an Oxford where the magisterium, aka something that looks a hell of a lot like the Catholic Church, controls everything, right? And it's really kind of an interesting thing. Anyway, there's just some certain little things they they call electricity amberic power, not electric power, but amberic power, from amber, because that's
I see. Yeah, the sparks and zaps and things.
Yeah, static electricity. You could see it going that way in an alternate universe, and it's like for different words.
Yeah, in Dungeons and Dragons, I don't know about the current edition, but in D&D back in the day when us old people played, um, to cast a lightning bolt spell, you actually had to have an amber rod as one of the material components.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense. I like that. So you didn't get caught in any bad weather or anything like that, more or less?
Not super bad. Unpleasant, but, nothing that I couldn't just mostly ignore. I was more worried about a tree falling on me at some point, because there were a lot of trees that fell down.
See, that was a problem. That was a major problem, because the snow was basically slush coming out of the sky and sticking on pine trees, and the pine trees, of course, are softwood, and yeah, it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pleasant. A little April surprise. We've had them before. I remember April 19th storm. Of course, here in Maine and Massachusetts, we call that April 19th, we call that Patriots Day, because April 19th, 1775, what a glorious morning for America. I have to say that because as a native of Lexington, Massachusetts, it's on the high school auditorium walls. But yeah, we had a huge Patriots Day storm here. It was a big coastal storm. Similar sort of deal, except it was rain, but also like 60 knot winds. Really windy. And I was working at a community sailing center in Portland, and we were desperately trying to keep our equipment from exploding.
Oh, no.
Lord Asriel, yes, indeed. You're getting that. Yeah.
Israel's an interesting. That comes.
Mrs. Coulter's monkey. Mrs. Coulter had it. Her monkey was a demon. Her demon was a monkey, a golden monkey. See, the people, rather than having souls on the inside, they had souls on the outside. And a kid's demon, spelled Daemon, did not become fixed until they hit adolescence.
Uh-huh.
So you had, what was Lyra's demon was not a ferret. Somebody in the chat, some people in the chat remember Pantalaimon was the name of her demon. And Pan was sort of a weaselish critter, and sometimes a bird, and sometimes a this and a that. And then when they get to the point where they're ready to do the nasty, the demon sort of settles. Pretty interesting concept.
Yeah. I'd heard the name a few times, most recently in some of the books that I'm reading now, with a wizard named Azrael Copperfield. Apparently all the wizards of the future descended from the stage magicians of today, for some reason.
I see.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I've heard it before in mythology and whatnot. According to Google, it's Hebrew, which is why you'll find it in Christian and Muslim traditions as well as Jewish. And depending on who you ask, it either means God is my help or I am God's help. One or the other.
Yeah. Well, Israel is the one who strives with God, right? On account of that wrestling match that Jacob had, all of a sudden it became named Israel.
Oh, with the dick grabbing.
Thigh, please. I'm not sure. It's just generally the gonadal region, I think, is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of genital mutilation in the Holy Scriptures there.
Well, yeah, there's that whole circumcision thing, which is really kind of weird.
Hundreds of foreskins.
Yeah, that whole thing with the Philistines, that was weird. It's like, was it King David or was it Saul or one of those guys? They got a whole bunch of people's foreskins. It's like, that's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's just weird.
Nothing like grabbing a whole bunch of guys by the junk to prove that you're worthy of marrying the king's daughter.
I mean, can you imagine that being a general order for the army? Well, okay, here you go,
bring
guys.
Back their ears, bring back their scalps, bring back their foreskins.
Yeah.
Pick your poison.
It's just... it's like... I'd say barbaric. Yeah, barbaric would work. Just seems a little weird. The Romans certainly thought it was weird.
Which makes sense. The Romans were, a little bit more Greek philosophy styled than Abrahamic philosophy styled. It's interesting. Yeah. I was listening rather than reading because I have to do audiobooks because driving. But it was the story I was on got into a little bit of Nietzsche, and specifically the contrast between master morality and slave morality. And since it kind of shook my views how the slave morality is like, the things that are good are being meek and being passive and letting God handle the revenge so you don't build up resentment and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like seeing that, of course, in Christianity. It's basically literally what Jesus taught, but also in other Jewish traditions. But not all of them, because then you have the ones like where you go out and collect hundreds of foreskins. That's straight up master morality. That's Old Testament stuff. That's where good is being as brutal as you can to prove your virility. Why we have such a clashing moralities in the great big book of Middle Eastern fables. But I'm still processing the data. I'm like, interesting.
Yeah. My most recent rabbit hole I've been going down of late is I sort of started going down this rabbit hole of 17th century English colonial settlers and the and it's my own personal 1619 project, really, like the evolution of slavery as practiced by specifically the English. It started out where they couldn't enslave Christians. They would not enslave Christians.
And
The
Spanish had that too.
And well, I think it all came from the 1493 Inter Cetera papal bull, which basically divided up the world between the Spanish and the Portuguese. It's pretty presumptuous of the Pope, but then again, when's the Pope ever not been a bit of a egotistical little shit? But, he's the Vicar of Christ on earth. So anyway, the Vicar of Christ on earth says, you Spain, you get these people. You Portugal, you get these people. And you can't lay claim to any Christian lands, but you can lay claim to any lands that are populated by the godless heathen. And that includes the land and the resources and the people. You can grab a hold of those people. Well, the way the English worked it was pretty much they got in on the act. And in Barbados, specifically Barbados, I think it was prior to 1690 something, you could not own a slave who was Christian. So what would happen? Well, some of the folks that got bundled onto ships and landed in Barbados to work the very first sugar plantations would convert. And then Christian now, I can own property and all those other things that, and all this stuff. Well, that didn't suit the planters very well, including my 8th great grandfather. He was one of those dudes. So they changed the law to specifically make reference to skin color. You couldn't own pale faces, but you could own people of who had darker skin, and that's kind of at least how the racial bit, and that was really rather a Protestant thing. More of a Protestant thing than a Catholic thing. Catholics, they didn't enslave anybody. They didn't give a shit.
Yeah, a lot of people just kind of straight up ignored the rules. And I think it was a wink and a nod kind of thing. Like the Spanish crown disavowed slavery of indigenous people in the New World, but that didn't stop the conquistadors even a little bit.
No. Possession, 9/10 of the law, all that shit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and guns. We got the guns. We got the power. Yeah.
I
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, looks like we've got lousy weather for the next couple of days, and then it gets nicer and nicer and nicer. And so, springtime's coming. Springtime is here, except it just doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, theoretically.
Yeah. Yet. So I don't know, and I just figured I'd go live here and sit around and hang out. I think I'll throw maybe a link if anybody wants to come in and shoot the breeze for a bit. Yeah. Oh yeah, we've got the eclipse coming up, don't we? What?
Yeah.
You're
Monday.
Yeah.
I'm
And
charging all my thingies.
You are in the path of totality, correct?
Oh yes. Actually, you may have heard it got shifted slightly. I get a little bit more totality than I was expecting to have before.
Really. See, if I wanted to be in the path of totality, I'd need to travel about 50 miles upstate, which is doable, I suppose. But I don't think I'm going to make it to the knife edge on Katahdin for this one.
Mm.
The lack of electricity for the past 36 hours has sort of cramped my style and condensed my workload into panic mode.
Oh, I feel that.
So I probably won't be able to do that. But yeah. That ought to be interesting. I think the weather's supposed to be good. Jason said, let's see. Heard upstate New York is going to have the best viewing chances with these clouds. What about Texas? Is Texas going to get screwed with bad weather?
I don't know. Well, let's see. Weather in Texas Monday. Of course, Texas is a gigantic state, but
yeah,
the
Austin.
overall weather says thunderstorms.
Yeah, perfect. Good. Well,
if there's
good.
I
shouldn't say good.
Like the
it's
whole
like
eclipse. Path. I did hear some people say that Watertown, New York, is supposed to have like the best view, and they've got like a 50% chance of not being overcast.
Yeah, well, if there's ever if a path of totality ever goes through a place like I don't know, Seattle, England, what are the chances?
Okay. I think button. Doop. Right.
There we go. What do we got?
Looks like Missouri-Illinois border area it probably has the best shot until you get into proper New England.
Yeah. Hey, look at that. New England's looking good. How about that? Well, maybe I can scoot a wee bit north, but again, that's going to be tough to do. I've got so much to do.
Yep. Gonna have an Arthur Eddington situation going on. Like 60 to 70% right on the southeast area there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, the last time I drove all the way to frickin' Tennessee to find a good spot, so
Well,
maybe I'll go way the fuck up north.
yeah. Well, Burlington's nice to visit anyway. What the hell? Go to Burlington. I think that's good.
Yeah. I'd like to do it right in my front yard so I'm close enough to get the Wi-Fi so I can live stream it.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose technically it could anyway. The last one I live streamed using my phone as a hotspot. I imagine this phone could, or I could just stream directly from the phone. Done that before, although that gets weird. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Probably, maybe.
It takes me like 4.5, 5 hours to get to Burlington from where I am, but so probably be. I ain't driving to Caribou. That's more like 7 hours.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so many things I want to try to do during the eclipse. Like I've got my virtual reality camera charging. I'm not sure how well it'll be able to capture the eclipse, but if it can, then I'll be able to make a VR recreation of the eclipse. It's worth trying, I think.
Sure,
It's
why
just,
not?
The sun is so fucking bright.
Well, yeah, it is. It's a star. It's close
Yeah,
by.
yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But I've got GoPro's charging. I'm gonna have one of them do a time lapse if I can find my old camcorder looking camera. I used it on the last eclipse because it's made of a very cheap plastic, which means the lens doesn't actually lens, which meant I could keep it staring at the sun all day and it never melted. Then I've got my super zoom cameras. I'm going to try to keep one on the sun in video mode to get a close up of the entirety of the totality phase, and then the other one that gets even closer, I'm going to try to get up in on the moon's business. I've got my Micro Four Thirds camera that I'm going to attempt to use because it gives a ×2 magnification due to the crop factor, but it's still a regular, SLR camera. I'm going to try to get a balance exposure so that you can actually see the face of the moon in the middle of the eclipse. I did that in Tennessee, but because I only had the super zoom cameras, which have tiny little sensors, there was so much noise you can barely make out the face of the moon, and I'd like to be able to do that for better this time.
Okay.
I'm gonna put a fisheye lens on my full frame Sony so I can get a big freaking view and see how many stars show up, and then and I'm gonna send my drone up because even though it won't be able to look up high enough to see the sun in the eclipse, it can look down at the ground. And I'm going to do two things. The first is I'm hopefully going to catch the shadow of the eclipse coming because I'll have a long enough view from way the fuck up high, and that would look cool. And then during totality, I'm going to have it do a 360 photosphere. It won't be able to see the eclipse itself, but it'll get what the whole world looks like around it, which I think will be pretty neat.
Neat.
Yeah.
I like it.
Bunch of plans. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some stars. And I also want to try to get I don't know how far the comet is going to be from the eclipse, so I may have to like change lenses partway through, which, in a 3-minute window is going to be a fun time. But I'm going to try to get as close on both the eclipse and the comet in a single shot as I can, and see how that looks. And if I can find an assistant, I'll dig out my Nikon and have that person like focus on the comet, because a lot of the better photos of the comet that we've been seeing are long exposures. With 3 minutes, that means we're going to have to get really creative to try to get some good stuff of the comet. But I don't know. I'll get what I can. I only have one set of hands, and I'm trying to do a lot.
Yeah, you definitely need some apprentices or assistants or partners in crime in some way or another to make it all happen.
If my youngest is visiting Ohio this weekend, but if she's back on time, I may go collect her and be like, all right, your job is to shoot the comet or something. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, I made a point of bringing the kids to the one in Tennessee because these things are so weird and so rare. And I told them, the next eclipse will come to us, and then here we are with my oldest in college and my youngest away, and so I don't know. See how it goes. So I'm planning as much as I can, but some of it I'm just gonna have to wing. That's right, Andrew. It's celestial. It's more special than Christmas, even, because even though they're super cool celestial presents, the last one was 7 years ago. These are rarer than leap years, and this time there's a comet.
Yeah. So between having no power and Bree having other things to do, we kind of got discombobulated with our transpositions this week. Hopefully we'll be back pretty soon. Stay tuned for that. Thursdays at 8 Eastern. We hope to keep that ball rolling.
I told Bree not to sweat it, because postponements are.
Yeah,
everyone does that from time to time. Fine.
It's all good. It's all good. Everybody needs a little bit of time to work things out, or push through power failures. I was kind of sweating bullets this morning because I was almost out of gas, and my strategy has been to basically, in order to stay warm, stay in car. Car is a hybrid electric vehicle, so it doesn't need to run all the time. All it needs to do is charge the battery, and the battery runs the heat, and it's all very good. But I was low on gas, and with like most everywhere around here being completely shut down on account of no electricity, well, that means gas pumps are hard to find. But I did find a gas pump this morning, so I was prepared for the most of the day that I was without power. Really annoying. It's back though.
Yeah, I was just thinking while I was at a stop today, unloading big cement boxes to be foundation pads for transformers. That really our entire infrastructure is running on 19th century technology. Like, it's all mad scientists, sparky gizmo nonsense, and engines that are made of metal and powered by tiny explosions. Like, all of it's just a veneer over mad scientist stuff.
No, Well, we're not doing this via Samuel F.B. Morse code.
Oh, it's true.
We've managed
You
to
know,
forge ahead with
yeah, the digital technology is really outstanding, but fundamentally it still runs on the same old electricity that used to murder elephants. It's like there's
what are you
this
you're some sort of Thomas Edison devotee?
Now, I'm
It's
just
like,
trying to emphasize the steampunk nature of our civilization. Like there's
oh
this
yeah,
veneer of cyberpunk on top of it, but it's all steam engines underneath.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think this is definitely worth highlighting. Some companies like Pacific Gas and Electric. Yeah, no need. Well, see, what I guess we could go the European way and have a great big civilization destroying war, and then put everything underground, and then we wouldn't have to worry about this anymore. Right?
I think it'd be a plus, but that's just me.
It's the civilization destroying war part that's a little bit worrisome.
Yeah, that really shouldn't be necessary. Although I'm still optimistic that we'll get wireless transmission down at some point if we bother to.
Okay, just don't get in the way.
Yeah. I know we
So
had the
where's this
ability.
going? Where's this power line going? Oh shit! It's right through my arm. That's no good.
Yeah, like that guy at CERN who stuck his head in the particle beam. Oof.
Did what? Say what now? Somebody put their head in the particle beam? That's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. There was this researcher. They were conducting some experiment or other, and the guy thought that the collider wasn't actually turned on, and
Oh,
he wanted to figure out why. So he opened a panel and stuck his head in, but
oh,
it was turned on, and there was a beam of particles going through the center of the collider ring, and
oh.
it ruined his day.
Uh, yeah, I would imagine it would.
Yeah.
High energy physics. Well, I wanted to get a good close look at it.
Right?
Yeah,
Although
that
I
doesn't.
have heard from astronauts on the ISS and other missions that once you're up a certain amount and out of the protection of the atmosphere, you get a lot more cosmic rays, and
Yes.
when a cosmic ray goes through your visual cortex, it makes a spark in your vision.
Yes.
It's pretty trippy. Now every time I get one of those, it's like when you bump your head and see stars, but it's only one and it's very bright. And sometimes you feel like a tingle inside your skull, like somebody snapped a rubber band. So every time that happens, I think, "Oh, cosmic ray got me."
Is that an explanation for the John Glenn phenomenon? Remember, John Glenn said he saw, he was seeing, like kind of what you've got going on your screen going on around the Mercury capsule on one of his orbits of the Earth.
Hmm. It had a hyperspace. I can't even remember why I turned these green. They were originally white stars zipping by, like in Star Trek or something. I don't know. Maybe
Well,
I was going for a Matrix kind of thing.
you've got a little bit of blue going on, a little bit of green going on, a little bit of white. Yeah, I don't know.
I suspect I may have been going with like a color thing because I often have a border that's purple around my camera.
Mm-hmm.
Purple and green. I kind of do it. I don't know. I can't remember half the reason I do half the things I do.
Yeah, well, so. Yeah, it all works. I think it works. I'm becoming
right.
mesmerized by it. I think maybe it's because awake too much.
Oh, I did a whole intro sequence with it with random things flying by. No, it was the intermission sequence. I wonder if I can punch, maybe still be able to talk. Intermission. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, I pinned a link in case anybody wanders by the stream and wants to jump in and chit chat. I don't really have any stellar topics. We dipped into the slavery topic. That was kind of hemi-demi serious. And we talked about the eclipse. That's coming up. I wonder, how do the flat Earth guys handle the whole eclipse thing? It seems they'd have a problem with that. Of course, they have a problem with all sorts of things. Grayson yesterday was talking to some flat Earth guy who was just being a complete douche. He was saying, "Have you ever been out in the ocean?" And it's just an optical illusion that things look curved. And it's like, dude, like, have you ever been out in the ocean thousands of miles, late at night and all of this? And I was sitting there thinking to myself, this guy's out in the middle of the Atlantic or something. He doesn't know how to use a sextant. It's a little bit weird. I don't know.
This must not have been the version I was thinking of. I don't know. I had a version around here.
I don't know. All I've got is fireworks. I've got some fireworks in the background.
Just like the street light.
Oh, you got hit another button, Ember.
Oh, actually, I had to uninstall and reinstall my thingy, but I may have my buttons working again.
Really?
Yeah, which is nice. But that means I have to stop dilly-dallying about. There's a few pieces of video that I wanted to make new clips of, and I haven't because time has been very short. And my excuse was, well, my buttons are out of commission right now, so I don't need to. But now, if they're working again, then I really. First, turn the Wi-Fi on. Gotta start the program. Program is connected to the right Ethernet port. Then I can start the control gizmo on my phone. Let's see. Okay.
Are you doing all of this on your phone or on your computer or both right now? Is this
it's a little of each, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Let's try.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Andrew, you were there for that absurdity. Boy, that guy was so annoying. I mean, it's so weird when people want to be so fucking smug. Grayson's there trying to be nice and scientific and everything, and the guy's going, well, let's just suppose we forget all about science. Yeah, okay. Oh, look at that. I like it. Yeah. So I need to see an ophthalmologist. Holy shit. It's like, yeah, I guess we do. Or something. But that'd be buying into the whole scientific, the woke scientific thing. Like, oh yeah, that too.
Strawberry Jesus. There we go.
Yeah, strawberry. Is that Jesus?
It's strawberry. I actually had the people in the community post got to vote. I had 2 different Jesuses. And they voted on this one. I whatever. He's fruity, so it works.
Sure.
A little bit of Kent Hovindism. You think you're related to a strawberry?
Well, no, this guy's thing. He wanted to talk to Grayson about banana being a banana. Whether you're first, he came in and asked first of all, "Do you think you're an ape?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm an ape." And then he went to, "Well, do you think you're a banana?" It's like, well, that's a rather personal question. Stay out of my personal life is what I would have said. But it's like.
I can't. Free there. Free there, Kent. Kent doesn't. Kent is a taker.
It's pretty weird. Yeah, it's like, oh, let's just forget. Just what if you just forgot all about science? Well, then I guess we wouldn't be having this conversation now, would we?
So weird how they want to ignore science, but then on the other hand are like, oh, the science says Jesus though.
What's surprising to me is they want to ignore science, except they're using science, or at least using the technology that science made possible.
Only some of them.
What's this quantum mechanics? Quantum mechanics is bullshit. It was, yeah, except it's exactly why you're able to have this conversation. Otherwise you'd be just writing it down on a piece of paper and sending a note, pen pal style, 1960s style, right?
Just give him the finger.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, here. Go to space. I mean, technically we were kind of already in space, but whatever.
Well, I guess from a certain point of view. I missed that part somehow. We were claiming that we had bananas sprinkled inside of us. Yeah. Like, sure, why not? I like it. Yeah, we had bananas sprinkled inside of us. On occasion, sure. I'll go with the banana. Maybe.
I've had bananas from time to time. It varies. I'll go through.
I've never had a banana that way.
But there have been times when I was like really low on potassium, and I'm like, I need banana.
Yeah. Well, I do. People think this is. People don't believe me when I tell them where I'm from, but I just want to point out that. Yeah, a second. So I'll get my weather forecast up here. 7-day forecast. There we go. I just want to point out. I always look for the extended forecast for Sodom, me.
As one does.
As one does. I mean, it's an actual place, and it's a place I am right now. I am in a. It's not an actual town, but it is a region of a town in Maine. It's called Sodom. And I always think it's pretty good because of the, yeah. So yes, it is true. it looked so goddamn calm. It was. Weather's so weird. Weather can be so ferocious, like rip you up type ferocious, and then a day later, well, in this case, like 7 hours later, it's just it's lovely. What a lovely placid scene you've got going on there.
It's always been trippy to me because, our atmosphere is so thin. It's got like no substance to it. But when it gets grumpy, it'll puff and blow your house down.
Oh, I have weather stories. It's like a microburst situation. It's fucking amazing how quickly that shit occurs and just how dangerous it is. It's just holy shit. I remember in a race heading on these waters, kind of heading like towards where I'm sitting right now, and the horizon completely disappeared, and you saw this wall of green, and you say, "Get the sails down," and people look at you like you're crazy, and you say, "No, get the sails down now and get the anchor ready." And you just managed to get the sails down, and you just managed to get the anchor deployed. And you get hit with 70-mile-an-hour winds. You say, well, rather live to see another one.
Crazy. An interesting thing, because you're only the second person I've ever heard of who mentioned being green right before a sudden burst of storminess. Wonder.
It's kind of an olive drab look to it. It's just and I think it's just diffraction. It's the way the rain was and where the sun was, and it's just this. It was a wall of water and a wall of wind, and it just blew through. It was ridiculous. I had a busy night at the sail loft because people did not take their sails down and they ripped them apart.
Okay, so according to the Googles, people just aren't paying attention, I guess, because the sky.
Are we doing geologic column here? What are we doing here?
the green before a storm thing. The water and ice particles in the storm clouds, if they have enough depth and a high enough water content, will scatter the blue light from the atmosphere even more so, and which is already fucking up the red light scattered by the atmosphere, leaving just the center of the spectrum in the storm column itself. So greenish, yellowish.
Yeah, well, yeah. All I can say is what I could see. It's like, this doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And particularly not good when the shoreline disappears. It's like, wait a minute, there's something coming, and it's probably not good.
Bad times. There's a number of suggested questions by Google that have to do with, does a green sky mean a tornado is coming? Like, oh my.
I've heard that. I've been in tornado warning situations. I saw a water spout exactly once, and that was fucking frightening because it was like in the middle of the ocean, or pretty much the middle of the ocean. Pretty far offshore, which is unusual. But that's a situation. It's like, now what do you do? Well,
Huh?
wait till the weather breaks and hope for the best.
Yeah, weather's gonna weather. Gonna do its thing. Right after quick time.
Yeah, that's a sort of situation where if you know something like that's coming, it's maybe a good idea not to go out. But if you're already out and there you are, what do? Yeah, just throw yourself into survival mode and survive. Do that.
Yep, try not to die. That's always the first thing. After that, you can worry about the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, extreme conditions are like they're the situation where as the situation develops, you're doing it and it's like, all right, and you know that these sorts of things can happen. It's just you need to be prepared for these things to happen. But it always makes you wonder, why do I do this? It's so stupid. But I'm ready to do it again. I don't, what the hell? See it happen.
Sure, if OBS can play this, see, I can do with it.
I gotta start playing with OBS a little bit more.
Banana.
Oh, one of the stories we were going to cover. I do want to mention this because it's just because it's funny. Is everybody losing their shit over the fact that Trans Day of Visibility happened to fall on Easter,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody losing their cotton picking minds about it. And it's like, well, see, here's the thing: Easter is a movable feast. One of those first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox, right? That's the way it gets set. So it's like, can fall anywhere between March 31st and April whatever, end of April. It's a big old slot you got to open there. It's 2/3 of a month anyway, and Easter can fall on on any given day. So this year's March 31st, and next year is November
420.
420. Yes, which sadly, it's the universe had to have Adolf Hitler born on 420 too. It's kind of a drag. Oh, the banana. Thank you.
It kind of works. It's playing very slowly.
Yeah.
It's a 4K file. I think I gotta downscale it a little.
Maybe. Unless you just want to have that slow peel. I like the slow peel. I think it's a thing. It's nice.
I kind of want to grab that Ray Comfort voiceover about banana being the most perfect thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, you can have all sorts of different celebrations that take place on a fixed date coincide with Easter. And they'll still all be more real than what it supposedly commemorates, Shit.
Yeah. Actually that's kind of the rant that I get into. is, so it's a much longer story and it's already recorded, so it'll probably be on this coming week's show.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Yeah,
So there you go.
the
A little teaser
TLDR.
there for you folks. We're just giving you a little tease. It's just a little.
Yeah,
This is Amber's banana tease going on here.
for sure. So there's that old story that people talk about how um Easter isn't actually a Christian holiday. It's based on the Babylonian goddess Ishtar and so forth.
Who cares?
It's partly true, but the thing of it is they make it a straw man. They're like, oh well, it's not based on Ishtar. Well, not directly, no. So that's technically true to say it's not based on Ishtar. But I mean,
How many? Yeah, go ahead.
it
I'm
still
sorry.
has the name of the fucking goddess. In Germany, they called her Eoster. In English, the English version is Easter. That is literally the name of the goddess whose pet bunnies did the be fruitful and multiply thing, and other symbols of fertility like eggs and whatnot. But if you trace that back, Eoster was the Germanic adaptation of Ishtar, who also gave rise to Ashara. That's just a side thing, God's ex-girlfriend, the goddess that Yahweh was afraid of. But also, Ishtar in Sumeria was called Inanna. And Inanna had this cool power written about in 4000 fucking BC about the ability to turn a man into a woman into a man, or either into something else. So,
Indeed.
since Easter is Eoster, is Ishtar, is Inanna, and Inanna was the goddess of trans people, then really Easter was the trans people holiday thousands of years before Jesus was even a glimmer in not Joseph's eye. So,
well, of course, from a certain point of view, one could the the trans experience is a bit of a rebirth anyway. It's just, hey, you're stealing our thunder. I don't know. It just I think it's so crazy because how many cultures have rites of spring? I mean,
all of them. Well,
Stravinsky kind of wrote a whole ballet about it, that caused riots in Paris because it was all so sexual.
Oh my!
And it's just, it's spring. You're planting. It's renewal. It's the time when you participate in, hopefully, the earth providing the ways and means of survival, especially for humans who figured out how to domesticate animals and plants. I mean, it's like, what society wouldn't have a festival like that wouldn't celebrate resurrection, coming back from the yearly cycle? I mean, it's just so many things in religion are just basically concepts that come out of pretty primordial things that we experience as a species. Right up to and including the fact that we're mortal. Just We know we're mortal. We know that people are born, people die, and we also know that the earth goes on and goes on and goes on and goes on. And some people can't wrap their head around the fact that the earth the universe was born, the universe will die, that nothing lasts. And we just we make up these stories about why, and we do try to throw some meaning into it because it helps us live our lives, and that's cool. But the thing that bothers me about religion are the doctrines that impact the way other people can live their lives and interpret, and give meaning to their own lives. Like, well, you're doing it wrong. It's once you settle into a cultural context where particularly people in authority are telling you this is the way you do it and you can't do it any other way, as it just doesn't, that doesn't seem to be the best way to move society forward. And particularly when arguing with Christians and stuff, it's like, well, okay, when you can tell me authoritatively what is Christian, maybe convince the other Christians that your way's the right way. Because you can go from a William Lane Craig to a Albert Schweitzer.
Far from raising the bar.
Oh,
or the
I had to do it, didn't I?
That Christianity must meet to be believed. I lower it.
He's one of the clips I have to get still is that recent interview he did with Alex O'Connor, where he just outright says about the genocides in the Bible, the killing of the Midianites specifically. He says, "Oh, well, I mean, it was actually a great blessing that all those children were murdered." I'm like,
see, I don't know how can anybody even want to make that case? That would be my question to him. So how can you even want to make the case that it was a blessing? That was a blessing.
That's the bitch. Is he's a divine command theory guy. So if there's a divine command, then it must be good, and it's up to him to justify why. And and many scholars have pointed out over the years, that's why so many of us have a problem with religion, because the entailments make you end up inevitably saying absurdly evil things and trying to claim they're good every time.
Yeah, you're always forced to do that. And what I don't understand is why you would want to be roped into that position. How can basically it's a kind of how do you sleep at night?
Right. Like the first time you catch yourself about to say that, the proper response is to take a step back and be like, what
Whoa!
the fuck am I thinking?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
We're not doing this.
Yeah, it's just... And it's almost, I just... That's a huge source of frustration. Is like, you're actually going to make that argument, eh? You're really going to do that? Then why are we even talking at this point? You've got nothing to say. You just basically... When the arguments always wind up, well, why is that good? Because it says so in this book. if that's all you've got.
He freaking doubled and tripled down on that thing too, because
Yeah.
when Alex O'Connor pushed back even just a little bit, he was like, well, I've thought long and hard about this, and thought, like, who is really wronged in this situation where God commands the total destruction of all the people? Now, the adults, they deserved it, so that makes it okay. The children, they weren't wronged by this because it's a great blessing. They get to go directly to heaven. So, to my thinking, Craig says, the only people who are actually victims in this whole scenario are the poor Israelite soldiers who have to commit this slaughter. I'm like, oh yes, the poor soldiers.
Well, yeah, and he's right there as one of those soldiers, and it doesn't seem to affect him. It turns people into moral monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you wind up having atrocities like what we're looking at happening in Palestine right now. It's monstrous to be, to just simply saying that blowing up hospitals, blowing up food pantries is something that has any justification whatsoever. And you would think that similar things happening 90, 80, 70 years in the recent past, like within lifetimes, you'd think that would make an impact, but it hasn't made an impact over when you're talking about biblical times, when you're talking about Canaan, right? When you're talking about Canaan, when you're talking about all of that stuff, this happened years and years ago. The total number of Homo sapiens on the earth was minuscule compared to where we are today, right? But now you take those ideas of a relatively, a small population, a small species wide anyway. You take those ideas and graft them onto a world of 5 billion of us, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and worse and worse and worse and worse, and it's the same shit. These are the principles, you're relying on these principles that don't scale well. I mean, they were never good, but they don't scale well.
There's a lot of things that we haven't really properly prepared for, population-wise.
Yeah.
Infrastructure, our healthcare system, our food supply, and none of it is really set up to handle how fast the population's increasing.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's I guess it's woke. Yes, it's woke.
Yeah, well, it's another struggle of the haves against the have-nots, and it's so stupid because there's no reason for it. We had the technological capability to actualize a post-scarcity society 50 fucking years ago. This is all manufactured for the sake of capitalism, so the rich can get even richer and have all the power. But they forget, when you set yourself too far above the underclass, you trigger envy, and eventually people start sharpening guillotines.
Yes, it's it's tumbrils. It's tumbril time. it never works out well. You know, the whole let them eat cake shit does not work out well. Eventually, it gets to a point, but the the monstrous cruelty of the people that are doing the exploitation uh, winds up creating a circumstance where there's monstrous cruelty in reaction, and it's just this endless cycle. It's like I wish that humanity would learn shit. You know, I wish that we would have gotten smarter as a species, but it just seems to me. I hate to be Debbie Downer about this whole shit, but it's like, when will we learn? This is bad. Yeah, Jason. To trade the fiddle for the drum. I wish YouTube was not so shitty about letting you play clips, but it's a quote from a song on Joni Mitchell's very first album, "The Fiddle and the Drum." How did it come you trade the fiddle for the drum? In other words, creativity for war, the drums of war. I don't know. See, now we're down to 2 viewers. So just start talking about this shit, and it's like craters.
We're depressing. and one of them is me. They have the window open. Oh my.
Nobody wants to.
There's probably something going on.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's
fireworks.
prime time on a Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to do a gazillion things at once, as per usual, so I'm, like, not even paying attention to my channel to, like, see what's up.
Yeah, I don't know. It's YouTube. It's like whatever. You just throw the stuff out there, and maybe it's there, maybe it's not. You know, who knows? If I were serious about it, I'd schedule some time and I'd come up with stuff and this and that. And I just felt like I've been fucking cooped up for 36 hours with no fucking power.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, that's absolutely fair. No, I get it. It's you know, there's times when I, like, go all out and I prepare, like, a bunch of pages and slides. Like, I don't just I'll intend to mainly react to a video, but I bring in, like, all the receipts from all the sources, and it ends up getting, 20 views eventually. And then there's other times where I just fucking wing it, and it does okay, like maybe 100 views. You know?
Yeah.
Just why put so much effort in when it doesn't seem to appeal to people? But looks like Kentucky Atheist is doing a member stream, which
okay.
People. And Jay is live over on Pocket Locker talking about
cool
Trump cult stuff.
Yeah. There we go. So all y'all, not many of all, go check out Jay and KA, and and we'll be here. I'll be here. Holy shit! What just happened? Was that another fucking lightning strike on Cape Elizabeth? Holy shit!
More violence.
Who knows? But I think we can close it up here at 1:20:07, and yeah, we'll see y'all at some point. I've got oh yeah, I've got on Women Atheists Unload tomorrow. I'll be on with Mary and Alma. I think that's who's on. And we'll be talking about Jordan B. Peterson.
Oh, joy.
Because he's done so much good for women in teaching men to be total assholes.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so we're gonna kill it here, and thanks for coming, everybody. I appreciate it. Thanks, Ember, for stopping by. We'll talk. What, you got something to push? You got something coming up?
Oh, I don't freaking know. Next scheduled regular video is April 14th. That's a little bit.
Yeah.
Debate reviews on Saturday, and I actually am doing a live Sunday show this week. Gonna go dismantle Alan Parr's new Flood movie. He didn't actually do the Flood movie. He just had a guy on, but Parr is just such a fucking dipshit. I've already dismantled him on slavery in the Bible and the Shroud of Turin being real.
Yeah.
So, why not take apart the Flood?
Sure, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
it'll be fun. What we need is more silliness. Like we have to deal with these stupid fucking arguments. We may as well have fun and laugh at these fuckers while we're doing it.
I agree. Might as well get a kick out of them. But taking them seriously, I think, is just absolutely the craziest thing ever. It's like, are you serious? It's like, no, they're obviously not.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're full of shit. Next. Anyway, bye everybody. See you later.
Noodles.
Boom.